Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. A devastating new video just released of one of Joe Biden's top advisors admitting to a massive payday if his boss stayed in the 2024 race and was able to win despite his obvious cognitive decline. This is really remarkable. We're now getting a look front and center of what appears to be the motive. The motive. It wasn't sheer power. It was also greed from the look of this thing. We're going to show you the unbelievable 2-minute clip. We didn't cut 1 second from it because we want you to see the entire thing. Wait until you see this guy. You've heard his name a lot, Mike Donilon. He was all over that Tapper book. He's as close as you can be to Joe Biden. He was one of the two who was around him, talking to him about his allegedly okay polls. I remember when Nancy Pelosi was like, I don't think your team is giving you the right information. And now we're starting, it appears, to learn why. Again, it wasn't just, we want the presidency. It appears to have been the good old-fashioned sin of greed. I'll show you the clip and you'll make your own decision. This clip we're about to show you, it's not just about the campaign. It's about Joe Biden's entire presidency and whether it was nothing more than a money-making operation for, yes, his family, we knew that one, but also his friends, his top advisors. This thing raises real questions about whether this entire cover-up was about cold, hard cash. The video was released today by the House Oversight Committee. It is of former top Biden senior advisor Mike Donilon. It was reported over the summer that Donilon told the committee he was paid $4 million to work on Joe Biden's 2024 campaign, and he was set to receive an additional, on top of that $4 million, an additional $4 million if Biden was reelected. I mean, just think about that. It's one thing to know that, like on paper. It's quite another to see him admit it. You're not going to believe this tape. However, the release of the video, all right, telling the committee that information, 4 and then another 4, it's just so damning because of the way he does it. Wait until you see this. He pauses, he stutters. It's a very simple question. You can see him trying to game it out in his head, seeing if there's any way around this enormous admission he's going to have to make. Would he have received money if Joe Biden were reelected? That's the question. Very simple. Yes or no. You all know whether you stand to make $4 million upon the reelection of a president if you're working for him. Think you'd know that right away? I think I'd know that. It's a yes or a no question. But it's very clear he knows the answer and is trying like a mouse in a maze to find a way around it, but he's not clever enough. He tries to avoid answering, but eventually he's forced to admit the truth. Watch this entire 2-minute painful thing.
Just to be clear, would the amount of pay you received for your role in the campaign, would that have changed depending on how far into the race President Biden made it?
My sense is that in my view, the money was that it was a guarantee for the campaign that we'd had a negotiation, and that's my memory of the agreement.
Would you have received a bonus depending on the way the campaign went? Was that a possibility?
How the campaign went.
Were there any circumstances in which you would have received a bonus?
Yes. It was.
What were those circumstances?
That Joe Biden would have been reelected president of the United States.
What would the bonus have been?
I believe it would have been $4 million.
In addition to the $4 million that you were already paid?
Yes.
It's hard to hear that last number, but it was another 4. Got 4 and would have gotten another 4 if Joe Biden had been reelected. Can you believe what we just saw? Just to go over it. The first question was from Peter Spector, House Oversight Committee staff member. He asks, just to be clear, would the amount of pay you received for your role in the campaign, would that have changed depending on how far into the race President Biden made it? Is that confusing to you? Is that confusing to you, members of the audience? It's pretty straightforward. Just to be clear, would the amount of pay you received for your role on the campaign, would that have changed depending on how far into the race President Biden made it? Yes or no? That's what we spent over a minute hemming and hawing on. My sense is, I'm not going to repeat the pausing, but you heard it. In my view, finally comes out with the money. It was a guarantee. The campaign, we had a negotiation. And that's my memory of the agreement. It's a non-answer. He won't answer. He's clearly dodging. He's self-conscious. He knows they've got him. He knows the motive for his terrible behavior is about to be outed in what I presume was an under oath deposition. We are all under oath when we give a deposition. And he wouldn't even answer yes or no. All he says was, it was a guarantee. That doesn't answer our question on whether it would have gone up or down. Sure, there could have been a guarantee for some portion of it, but they're asking you, would that have changed depending on how far into the race President Biden made it? And now we know, as we get to the end, because they followed up like good lawyers, saying, no, we're asking whether it would have gone up. You had a bonus if you got reelected. And finally, he says yes. So you know he was fucking lying there when he was answering, oh, it was a guarantee. That's my memory. He was lying. That's obvious. Good for them for following up. A lesser lawyer wouldn't have done it. These guys did. And then you heard Margaret Harker, senior advisor to the House Oversight Committee, assuming this is a lawyer, don't know. You never received a bonus depending on the way the campaign went. Was that a possibility? How the campaign went? This is a top political operative. Who does he think he's kidding? You know exactly what she's asking. You're afraid. You utter coward. You greedy coward. Wow, this guy. How the campaign went? She follows up. Were there any circumstances in which you would have received a bonus? Now he can't wiggle. Finally, yes, it was. Of course, he's playing word games, like trying to feign confusion again. There were, is what he should have said. What were those circumstances? And then he gives it up, that Joe Biden would have been reelected president. What would the bonus have been? I believe it would have been $4 million. In addition to the $4 million you already paid, yes. They got him. They got him in the end after considerable wiggling. This guy, in my opinion, is a dishonest hack. That's what we're witnessing there. Dishonest hackery meant to cover up abject greed and a loathing for the United States of America. This is the opposite of patriotism, of duty, of love of country. What you loved was the almighty dollar, sir. That's obvious. In this same interview, Donilon defended Biden's fitness for office because, sure, of course, they all had to. We've talked about Mike Donilon on the show before. You may remember when Tapper came on, he was part of President Biden's inner circle, known as the Politburo, a group of advisors that Mr. Biden always turned to. There was like a top 3, maybe 4, who were like the inner circle who made the decisions with him. Bruce Reed, Mike Donilon, Steve Ricchetti, and Ron Klain, who was his chief of staff for a while. A person familiar with this internal dynamic told Jake Tapper for his book, quote, 5 people were running the country and Joe Biden was at best a senior member of the board. And it was revealed in Tapper's book that in 2019, then candidate Joe Biden once struggled to even remember Donilon's name during a campaign event in Iowa. He just kept saying, you know. These two have known each other since 1981. 81. Okay, here now to react to this, plus a wild new Karine Jean-Pierre interview, are the fellas from the Ruthless program, Josh Holmes, Michael Duncan, John Ashbrook, and Comfortably Smug. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. When you are buried in credit card and loan debt, it's human nature to put it off and say, I will deal with this later. If that's you, here's something you need to consider. Okay, just give me 30 seconds to consider the following. Done with Debt has discovered a little-known strategy that will work in your favor to dramatically reduce or even erase your debt altogether. They can aggressively engage everyone you owe money to this fall, and here's why. They know which lenders and credit card companies are doing year-end accounting and need to cut deals. They even know which ones have year-end audits and need to get your debt off of their books. So consider getting started with Done with Debt now, this fall. Done with Debt accomplishes this without bankruptcy or new loans. In fact, most clients end up with more money in their pocket the first month. Get started now while you still have time. Go to donewithdebt.com. Speak with one of their specialists for free. Visit donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Guys, welcome back.
Hey, Megan. Great to be back. Good to see you.
It's great to see you, too. And the news gods rain down upon us for your return to the show. Do you believe what we just witnessed?
Listen, it's that kind of verbal dexterity and political acumen that you pay top dollar for in the political consulting world. In defense of Tom Donilon, though, I will say that he has captured Joe Biden's voice absolutely perfectly in that. That seemed like it was a 1-to-1 almost. But we have a joke. We've been in political consulting and that kind of thing forever. We have a joke internally here that there is no fiercer capitalist than a progressive Democrat in Washington, D.C. They're going to get paid. Right. One way or another, they're going to figure out how to get paid. And this guy is a perfect encapsulation of that.
It's all there, black and white. He was going to make millions of dollars if he could just get Bernie over the finish line. He did not give two shits about what was going to happen to the rest of the country because obviously they had some woke progressives making policy decisions there, and they were all just perfectly fine with that, presumably as long as he could keep his summer home.
Yeah, and also how disingenuous. Like, any political consultant could recite what their win bonus is in their sleep. They know how much money they're getting paid. So for him to be like, try to like run out the clock to be before he's like, yeah, it's $4 million. Like $4 million more on top of the $4 million you're already getting. He's like, yeah, just another casual $4 million. This is Biden Inc. We toss $4 million around like it's nothing.
Well, and we're talking about a conflict of interest here, but we're not talking about any candidate for any office. We're talking about the current president of the United States at that moment, right? And that's what makes it so galling, Megan, is like, yeah, this guy, he's stand to gain another $4 million if a candidate won an election, but he was also part of this farce pretending that this guy could still do the job in the Oval Office. And that is the real import, I think, of this entire investigation, is figuring out, like, are these people committing treason? It feels like treason to me.
Yeah, yes. It feels like it. It feels like an utter betrayal of their patriotic duty and their oath of office in order to line their own pockets. Let me tell you something, though, because I'm sure it's not unusual to have this sort of bonus structure built in for a campaign manager. Like if you get me over the line, I'm going to give you some sort of a bonus. It was the way he handled it that told us everything we needed to know. Yep. He was so dishonest in fessing up and tried to dodge. Thank God the questioners followed up and understood they were asking a really simple thing. Let me tell you, though, as a lawyer, and again, I don't know if these are lawyers, I assume they are, but at least they're skilled cross-examiners. When somebody does this, every hair on the back of your neck stands up and you're like, with the claws out, like, you're fucking dead now. You're dead. Now we're going to go. I mean, I've been in this position countless times in depositions and cross-examinations and sometimes even in interviews. It's the worst possible thing to do, the worst possible way to handle it. The best way is to be like, yes, and I was to receive another $4 million if he made it across the line. That's it. Then they got their admission, which they were going to get no matter what, but you don't look like a dishonest cretin. Mm-hmm. I can't believe how dumb this guy was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of feels like he knows he should be ashamed, meaning he knows he did something wrong. Meaning this business that he was engaged in, he knew it wasn't all above board. If you're doing above board things, like, yeah, my family went and we worked at a soup kitchen last Thanksgiving. We fed the poor. I'm happy to tell people that because you're proud of that. But the fact that this guy's trying to run the clock and he was like, yeah, it was another 4 million. Like, it's an admission of guilt that you did something you know was wrong. When you're trying to hide it like that and you feel ashamed of it like that, it's a good sign that you were doing some dishonest stuff.
The outcome of the campaign?
Yeah.
The outcome of the campaign? You're a professional political consultant.
What do you mean the outcome of the campaign?
I mean, I don't know. There's an election.
Yeah.
What is this thing of which you speak, the campaign and its outcome? Like, perhaps you could elaborate?
It wasn't a bonus for the debate performance. Good God.
It's
They talk
amazing
about
to
some
me.
reclamation.
Yeah.
There's so much lying in today's news cycle. Honestly, like we kicked it off with the big lie. That's, as the Democrats like the turn of phrase, the big lie. But the whole show is about lying liars who lie, and they're all Democrats. Not that Republicans never lie, they lie too. But there's a bunch of Democrats lying in the news today. Okay, let's keep going because that's not the only.
They get away with it.
Yeah.
Again, they get
That's
away.
right.
They do it in secret. And they get away with it.
That's true.
That's right, Ashbrook, because the press almost never presses them, right? It's like even here, we needed Republicans on the House Oversight Committee to get this admission. You know, like Mike Donnellan, who got this admission from him? Like what presser? What member of the press ever got it? Okay.
That's
gotta
also,
keep
can
going.
I just interject
Yeah.
on one thing before you transition? 8M is a big number. Like, I don't want your audience to think that that is what campaign managers are paid to run political campaigns. That is insane. When we used to run political campaigns, you had a very finite amount of cash that you were able to raise through hard dollar limits and whatnot. And you cared so deeply about winning and losing, which is why you got involved in the first place, that you tried to keep your own overhead as low as possible in order to maximize resources for TV ads, for field work, for all the things that you need to do during the course of the campaign. For someone to just say, like, I'm going to take 8M off the top of that in what is going to be a nip and tuck race is wild.
It's an insane number. I remember, like,
isn't that donor money?
Yes.
And that's like, you know, when they ask donors to be like, hey, can you chip in $5, $20? Those small dollar donors, all those $20 and $5 donations are getting rolled up into $8 million to go into Donnellan's pocket. Like, that's how greedy this guy is. That is absolutely not a normal amount to be paid. Nothing close.
Yeah, in Major League Baseball, there's a lot of talk about a salary cap. And so I wonder if in Democrat politics, maybe some of the donors might be considering coming together and instituting a salary cap on Democrat campaign consultants.
Think about, honestly,
There'd be
I feel
no more
sorry for the
campaigns.
Democrats. I actually feel sorry for these Democrat donors. Not only were they being set up to fail with Biden and this guy, but then what did they get to replace him? Somebody who spent more than $1 billion in 107 days and blew out so much of the dough that the DNC is now still paying back her debt. We just got news last week. They had to cover an additional $1.6 million of her debt. She went over budget, over her $1 billion spend. She actually managed to spend beyond her means, and they're still trying to clean it up. If I were a Democrat, I'd never give another penny.
Real quick, is this thing, this money scheme is the entire explanation for the entire left. Beyonce came in and got paid off that. Oprah came in and got paid off that. You think Hollywood is supporting these socialists for their health? There's money for everybody in this game.
And the Oprah thing was such a grift. I said it at the time. We talked about it. When you are a journalist, you don't get paid by the campaign for anything. You don't take 1 cent from the campaign, or you've sold your soul. You don't say, I'll do a town hall with you, but you have to pay for the big round theater with the fancy monitors everywhere so I can beam in Republicans for Kamala. You say, I will be in charge of the set and the production, and I will make it as fancy or not as I want. And all of that will come out of the journalist's budget. Oprah tried to, scoff this off as like, oh, what do you mean? It was like $1 million for the production. Like, no, that's not normal. You know it. You're corrupt too.
Yeah, totally. But here's the thing. You talked about feeling bad for Democratic donors. They'll never know, Megyn. They'll never know. They are sitting there listening to MSNBC primetime, or all of the cheerleaders on the left that have made them sort of agnostic to anything outside of this far left preaching. They'll never know about this clip. They'll never know that the whole American democracy, the Democratic Party, the nomination, all of it was for the low price of $8 million. They'll never know.
You're right.
This is not the lead on MSNBC today or on any left-wing podcast. I look forward to the in-depth The Daily podcast on this. I'll wait. Okay, there's so many things we got to get to, so I'm forging forward. The Karine Jean-Pierre interview. Okay.
Yes.
Good one.
She sat down with the New Yorker and the reporter Isaac Chodoner. I don't know him. Chodoner. Maybe I should know him. I think I want to know him after I read this interview. It's amazing. And he did the very simple thing that is all you need to do when sitting across from a dumb liar like Karine Jean-Pierre, which is just ask the most basic, simple questions. It was literally like, what does that mean? I still don't understand. Could you please explain? Could you elaborate? That's literally all he did for page after page and just hoisted her on her own petard. It was a thing of beauty. We've got to go through it. There'll be some dramatic reenactments here, but this is a beauty. I mean, it's to the point where even the left is acknowledging this is the end of her career. Like, the press tour has not been going well at all.
No.
And then this is the final nail in the coffin. So he starts, he sets it up and talks about she left the party because the party didn't stand by Joe Biden. I guess that's why she wants to become an independent now, but unclear. Okay, so here's a question. You feel like you had to leave the Democratic Party because of the way it treated Joe Biden. How did it treat Joe Biden? This is like you're deposing a 4-year-old. How did it do that? That's right. It's like making it as simple as possible. Come on, Karine, even you can do it. Now, remember this opening line she gives. I call it a betrayal. I call it. That's my special thing. That it's a betrayal, she says. Okay? I'm going to stitch together these answers because they're very long, but I've highlighted the relevant parts. And by the way, I'm doing her a favor because I'm going to make her sound more lucid and cogent and following a thread than she is because she meanders all over the hell and gone. You're like, get back here to first base. She's out in left field. Come back. The ball is here. So I'm going to condense it. She says, I was the person who was standing on that podium behind that lectern having to take in all the hard questions on this, rightfully so. And I was watching what Democratic leadership was doing. It was an all-out, full-on campaign to embarrass him, to push him out. And I thought to myself, this man is one of the most decent people that I know. And objectively, it was a good presidency. It was a good presidency. Some have even said he did more in one term than most presidents do in two. So I just didn't understand. Yeah, many people. just didn't understand why this was happening. So he says, you said that the party was trying to undermine Biden. What do you think they were doing and why? Well, I just laid it out. I just said there was an obvious campaign. You just had to watch. Sure, but why were they doing that? Because they believed he needed to step aside. This is very layered, right? There's a period of time, layered, that I questioned what was happening and how do we treat our own? How do we treat people who are decent people? And then you also have to think about, here we go, folks, how I'm thinking about this as a insert.
Here we go.
What is Karine Jean-Pierre, everyone?
Well,
a black queer woman.
Black queer woman.
Black
Exactly
queer
right.
woman. Ding,
There's
ding,
the
ding,
resume.
ding, ding. To the
That's it
gentleman
right
in the
there.
hat. You have to think about how I'm thinking about this. This is a black woman who is part of the LGBTQ community as well.
There it is.
And living in this time where I also don't think Democrats right now, Democrat leadership, is protecting vulnerable people in the way that it should. She didn't get enough protection. And Biden, I guess, here is the vulnerable person, which is true. But that's the whole point. That's why he needed to go. He had moved from being firm to infirm and needed to be wheeled right out of the Oval Office. So now Isaac says, sorry, I'm not trying to be dense. I'm a little unclear about what this has to do with Democratic leaders and many Democrats in the country thinking Joe Biden was going to lose to Trump, which was what the polls all showed, and therefore thinking that he should be replaced. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on a second. She does this, like when she's lost, like, hold on. Hold on. She's talking to herself.
She does the Alex Trebek, what is a black queer woman? It's like supposed to be the out on this.
Nobody knows anything, she says. Again, she's talking to herself. Nobody knows what would have happened. She goes on, millions of people who showed up in 2020 didn't show up in 2024. We can't forget that there was an incumbency issue as well. This is real. There are like several G10 countries with incumbents who did not get reelected. There was an incumbency issue as well. And then Isaac speaks for us all.
Yes.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So Megyn, this is my favorite exchange here at the end of that answer that KJP gives. Again, this is a professional communications expert, somebody who was at the lectern every day of the Biden administration. And she has this whole run-up about how Biden was still qualified, should have been the candidate. And then she proceeds to undermine her entire argument by saying, other G12, leaders lost because of their incumbency. And it's like,
all the incumbents
so then
went
what
down.
is the point you're trying to make? It makes no sense.
So he was going to lose. That's the point. He was going to lose, which is why the Democrats wanted him out. Could have been for incumbency, could have been for frailty, but they all thought he was going to lose. Okay, I'm not sure what you're saying. And then here we go. No, wait a minute.
Amazing.
She's not used to it spinning out of control, right? She's like, I am usually in control at the lectern and I can control my inanity. And there's only so much cross-examination I'm subjected to. Okay, you're saying that this was their thinking, that they were kind of predicting, but nobody knew what was going to happen. No one knew that Joe Biden was going to win in 2020, and no one knew it was going to happen in 2024. People believed in their hearts that Kamala was going to win. They believed it. They saw the polling, and they thought she was going to win looking at the polling. Nobody knew anything. I'm only bringing up the polls because you brought up the polls to me.
What?
Okay. No one knows. Literally nobody knows. Then Isaac says, you said you were speaking as a black woman who's part of the LGBTQ community. And I think people were I'm talking about in this moment too. I do not feel seen. I have not been seen in the party because they are throwing the LGBTQs under the bus. Really?
Because of Joe Biden?
Yeah, they're not fighting enough for migrants and immigrants. You have to be a big tent party. You have to fight for everyone.
What?
Back to Isaac. I'm just still trying to understand.
I've never heard this part of the interview. She's saying I'm not being seen. She's literally on camera talking about a book that she wrote titled Independent. How she's different from the Democrat. Like,
you don't understand, dude. So she explains to him that she's a black queer woman.
Yeah, she pushed the button.
Among their superpowers is invisibility. So she can't be seen at times.
Yes.
If there's a question, that should be the out.
He's supposed to get down on his knees. That's it.
There you go.
All tough questioning stops. And you're supposed to genuflect because she said the magic words. This has been life for her, in her, and I quote, chocolate skin. This is.
Are you for real?
Hand to God. Hand to God. My audience is my witness. That's another KJP quote from her tour. Okay.
This is so much better than the clips that people put out on Twitter, Megyn. This is golden content and only brought to you on the Megyn Kelly Show.
Smug often talks about his mocha.
Yeah.
So
I feel unseen in my mocha skin.
I'm vanilla. I'm Madagascar vanilla.
There you go.
The folks at Cowboy Colostrum say. Okay. So he's like, it's a thing. It's an actual product. Okay.
Oh, man.
He made the vanilla sound more exotic by putting the word Madagascar in front of it. Okay. God. Here we go. He's like, I'm still trying to understand. He goes through a wind up and he says, you're talking about Biden like loyalty was owed to him. Isn't loyalty owed to the country? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying this is not how you treat somebody. So now she says, I'm not talking about loyalty. I refer you back to the part I told you to remember, the very first answer she gave. I call it a betrayal. It's a betrayal. Oh, and then he says, you're talking about Biden like loyalty was owed to him. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about loyalty. I'm saying this is not how you treat somebody. Poor Isaac is holding on by his fingernails. And then he says, Is this a matter of how you treat someone or a matter of putting the country first? See, he's keeping it at the third grade level so she can follow. Poor guy's thinking he's actually going to get a clear answer at some point. Then here she goes, wait a minute. This is her trick, right? This is her thing. Wait, treating somebody with dignity is not the same as loyalty. What? You're the one who said it was a betrayal. I mean, the way he was treated, I had never. If you had seen something like that in the Democratic Party, please point it out. So what was an example of the way he was treated? It was nasty articles that were coming out daily. Go back and see for yourself. You're writing the articles, right? You should go back and see for yourself. It was a campaign. It was even reported that it was a campaign. So you think asking him to step aside was okay, but there shouldn't have been nasty articles? He's trying. He's
here's the thing. Let's pause on this for a second, because Ashbrook's got a great bit on this, and it's why she knows it came from within. There was nasty articles or whatnot, because nasty articles about a Democrat, particularly a Democrat who's president of the United States, do not exist unless they come from other Democrats, right, John?
Exactly right. It's axiomatic in the legacy media. They only attack a Democrat when a second Democrat stands to benefit.
Yep.
Yeah,
so true. Katie Porter.
So she's done the math on that part.
That's Katie Porter. That's why she got asked those tough questions by that CBS gal, because it's an open primary. Lots of other Democrats. Let's get rid of her now if she's weak. That's the only time they ever face the questions.
That's it.
So so he's like, okay, so you're saying asking him to step aside was okay, but there shouldn't have been nasty articles. Look, what I'm saying is it shouldn't have happened that way. Then he says, but it should have happened, or it shouldn't have happened.
This guy is good.
And my dog Strudwick could follow this. She says, oh, wait, can you predict what she says now? She's resorting to two things, black and queer. And what's her other favorite thing to do at the beginning of these answers?
No.
Yeah. Wait. She says, wait. Just wait. I don't think it should have happened. Then she blah, 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 blah. I believe we should have fought to make sure Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won. That's what I believed. Then he says, okay, polling was pretty accurate, blah, blah, blah. He says, so you have no concern even to this day that Joe Biden could serve as president through January 2029? I did not see anything that would have given me concern. But you watched TV like the rest of us, right? Says, and then she says this, I always couch it with this. Of course, he was older. And I love the filler, like, you'll have to excuse my lie I'm about to tell you, because I always deliver this lie. It's my chosen lie.
I have to buy time to think of what the lie actually is. So let me preface it with entire prefix where I'm still thinking.
Totally, Holmes. I've got 10 filler words that will cue me to deliver my favorite lie. And here I will. Of course, he was aging. He mentioned it. He talked about not speaking as well as he used to, not walking as well as he used to. I saw him every single day at his White House as his White House press secretary. And he was someone that was engaged, on top of policy, challenging his staff. I mean, challenging Karine Jean-Pierre. That I believe. Then he says, one could conceivably think that he could do the job through January 2025, meaning the end of his first term, but that it was not wise to think he could do the job through January 2029, right? It's not my place to say.
Oh,
what?
Oh my God.
It was her place to say. She was literally the spokesperson for that thing.
That's incredible.
Right. And she just got done talking about
book.
Talking about how he got the short shift because he wasn't the candidate. Now it's not my place to say whether he could do the job.
Okay, one
same conversation.
The thing that is most wild about all of this, just to take it back to the highest level, is the book is called Independent. And she is Joe Biden's most loyal soldier. It makes no sense.
Nothing independent about any of it.
I don't want it to stop.
It's not my place.
I just don't want it to stop.
Then it reads Inside a Broken White House. And now she said twice in her book tour that she's talking about the Trump White House.
Oh, boy.
She's talking about inside the Trump White House, which, like everything around this woman, makes no sense.
This is amazing.
She's not talking about that.
Did the book publishers hate her to let this get out there? Were they like, we want everyone to make fun of you forever?
I have a feeling that they had some kind of a signing bonus, and they're like, hey, dude, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're another Mike Donnelly. They're another Mike Donnelly. They're like,
there's a reason people rubberneck. There's a reason people rubberneck at car crashes. You know, I mean, it's that whole saying of, better to be thought of as a fool than to open your mouth and move all doubt. You know, I mean, that's her entire problem.
Yeah. Well, who are we kidding? All five of us are going out to buy this book today. I mean, that's obvious.
It's just a bestseller.
So we're stuck on. It's not my place to say whether he could have actually done the job for a second term. And then here goes Isaac. What do you mean it's not your place to say? And then, gentlemen, what does she say next? I'll give you a guess.
Wait.
No, wait.
This is so unreal.
Wait. I'm answering the question. I did not see anything that would cause me concern. That is my answer. Except the debate and the other things that everyone saw, says Isaac, right? Like, he's on it. Like, you saw the damn debate. You saw him falling down. You saw him tripping. You saw him losing his train of thought. You saw him saying dead people were alive. That's me. He didn't ask her that way. He kept it simple for Strudwick, except the debate and the other things that everyone saw. What I'm saying to you is the debate, for me, was one time. I had never seen him like that before. Okay, we go on, blah, 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 blah. Then he says, I'm just a little surprised that you don't see what so many people, including so many Democrats, saw. I'm not the only person who feels this. I'm just the one speaking very loudly. I'm the person who's saying the quiet thing out loud. What?
What's the quiet thing out? That's just a cliche that doesn't fit in this context.
That's amazing. Like, this is such a damning indictment on DEI. Like, there is no greater example of what happens. Like, it is truly the soft bigotry of low expectations. This woman has no business writing a book, let alone being the spokesperson for the president of the United States of America. This is what happens. And then she always falls back on, as an unseen queer black woman, LGBTQ. We have come to the end of an era where people have opened up their eyes and realized this is what you get. She can't answer a question. She can't write a book. She can't be the spokesperson for the president of the United States.
But it's also the training. It's the training ground of Democrat communicators, in that I am certain this is an out-of-body experience for her, because for the first time in her life, she said, I think, is that an MSNBC interview?
No, it's New York Mag.
No,
New York Mag.
The New Yorker.
The New Yorker.
Yeah. Okay. Well, same difference.
Same thing.
But like, the point is that somebody who is a New Yorker columnist is asking her real questions. She's like, you don't understand. That's not your job. Mm-hmm. I told you I was a black queer woman.
Yep.
Why are we still into this?
Right.
You know,
it's don't appear to be down on your knees.
Yeah, I mean, this is what they are used to. This is just the way a corporate media has worked for generations of Democrats.
Right. And it makes Democrats soft. They learn all the wrong lessons. They feel like the media is actually their press office. And if you talk to reporters, and these guys make fun of me because I have journo buddies, but what the journo buddies all tell me is that if when you take a call from one of these Democrat press secretaries, the expectation is that you will write the story the exact way they want it. And if they don't like the portion of the speech that you pull out and put into the article that their boss said, if their boss gets mad at them, they get mad at the reporter, because the expectation is this story must look like a press release or you're against our mission. Yeah. You know, that's the way they think. It's legitimately the way they think. It makes them weak.
You can see what happened here. She got the job totally because of DEI, obviously, then touted the DEI qualities the entire time from the lectern, then read 90% of the answers she ever gave the press corps at the press briefings, and really did not sit for interviews as an independent person. She really gave only a couple, like Vogue gave her the Vogue treatment. They don't ask tough questions, especially not of a Democrat like Karine Jean-Pierre. So like, she never actually had, ironically, you know, given the position she had, she actually really never had to answer questions about what she thought. She really just had to struggle to get on the next safe space about what Biden's policies were, et cetera. And those were written out for her in her little briefing memo. So now some moronic publisher was like, she'll be great. The press tour, everyone's going to book her. She's used to talking to the media, and that you have to imagine them all dying on the inside as each one of these goes down. All right, let's keep going because there's still more wondrous stuff. Okay, I'm not the only one who feels this. I'm the person saying the quiet thing out loud.
Amazing.
So brave.
They're so brave. There's a silent minority of people out there who feel that Biden was taken advantage of. And most people
they were all
don't want
paid
to say
$8 million,
it.
by the way. The silent thought they had there was an $8 million paycheck attached to that opinion.
Who feel that Biden was taken advantage of, and most people don't want to say it? Is that what you mean? Let me just say, this is my experience that I'm speaking to, and what I saw. Experience. I just want to be very, very clear. On average, not from one interview, not from one debate, on average, I have heard from many people. You just made fun of this. She did it. Many people who are disappointed by the reaction of the Democratic Party. I have. And these are citizens. These are people who vote. So, some of her best friends are disappointed in the same way Karine Jean-Pierre was. Okay, keep going. Was it a concern of yours that Biden was not getting accurate information about the state of the race? I was not involved in the campaign, blah, blah, blah. He says, and one thing in your book I was not expecting was that after Harris took over, you say you thought it was, quote, an insult to her that people wanted an open convention. Can you talk about that? Yeah, I mean, look, you have to understand. I'm speaking also as a
queer woman. Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Black woman.
What is a black queer woman?
And what I experienced myself as being a first. This is not just me. There are many black women who feel this way. We are the backbone of the party. We are on the front lines. And when it comes time to elevate us or hear us acknowledge our voice, we are largely ignored. It's almost like they didn't want her. And so you have to understand the lens that I see that with, right?
Funny that doesn't translate to Winsome Sears. I don't
feel
seem
that
to
very
support
viscerally.
her.
As do many in the black community and among black women. Basically what she's saying is, of which you are not a part, Isaac.
Yep.
So stop
Bingo.
trying to shame me, Whitey, because you don't understand the black woman experience. Everything I've said is understood by black people, just not you.
And that is just, again, this goes back to the DEI thing. This is the weirdest thing that's been happened. And also for liberal white people, this strange thing of believing that just because someone's a minority, they have some kind of magical ability in some way that only they can discuss among each other. Guess what? All humans have brains. And to be like, you don't understand because I have a lived experience as a black queer woman. You're also a person. You're also an American.
And
that's
a
what we
dumbass.
have more in common. Yeah. So for them to have run this game for so long, of where you can become the spokesperson for the president of the United States, not on qualifications, but on immutable characteristics, that first off, that just spits on everything Martin Luther King Jr. fought for. Mm-hmm. It's not the content of her character that got her there. It's she checked the right boxes, and the party believes,
She knows
listen.
it.
Yeah.
She's well aware. All right, wait, let me keep going because there's some more goodness coming our way. Then he says, well, one reason some people thought Harris should not be the nominee is that they did not think she could win, which is why I was surprised to read in your book a little later on that, quote, the truth was I never really believed Harris could win. Because she's just gone on about how it's a black thing. They didn't want Harris. They wanted an open convention because they hate black people. And he's like, you write in your book you didn't think she could win. This is amazing. That's why I'm a little confused when you say it was an insult to try to get her off the ticket. You speak for us all, Isaac. And then she goes, okay, now this, I don't know what happens here. Okay. But two things should be true, right? She doesn't even have the saying, right? Two things should be. It's good.
Should
with
be.
the C. Two things should be true, right? The thing that I say the second time actually proves the thing that I said the first time, right?
What the hell?
This is
because
so amazing.
it's a feeling that we have. It's a feeling that we have. Okay?
Feelings.
The reason I felt it is because of how we are treated as
There it is.
Black women.
Yeah.
Black women. We are not elevated. We're not protected. We're not taken seriously. She was the vice president, for heaven's sake. But the reality of it is being a black woman, being black and being a woman and being black. No, she didn't add that last one. It's just tough. It's hard. It makes it harder. And she ran a fantastic campaign, but it wasn't good enough for some people. That is heartbreaking. Shouldn't you extend the same generosity to other people who didn't think she could win or that she was the best candidate? This is a book about my experience. Mine.
That
Me.
is so awesome.
It's a book about
Hold on. Megyn.
me. Okay? My experience. It's also attacking people with other opinions, says Isaac. Yeah, but I have every right to talk about my experience and my perspective, and that's not taking away from others. Okay, now
Which is is why you all should have voted for a 175-year-old white man with a history of segregating school buses and crime bills in the early 1990s.
That's right. That would have been the non-racist thing to do.
Fantastic.
That's true. That was the anti-racist move. So what I was confused by was you saying that you did not think Harris could win, but then you attack other people who didn't seem to think Harris could win by saying they were insulting her. Yes. She acknowledges that.
Yes.
Well, again, I wish you could walk in my body and live my life. And then I think you could understand what I'm saying. I really do, because I think any other black woman would understand what I am saying. What it truly is that it wasn't just an open primary or a brokered convention. There was disrespect to her as well. It was discounting her and her position and who she was. That's what it felt like. This is a very unique thing that I don't think anyone would understand unless you walked in our bodies and lived our lives. My feeling was not about her not being qualified. It was about people not being able to see past her being black and a woman. It's not that confusing for us because we live this life day in and day out. She still hasn't answered the question. And he says, sometimes I worry about losing sight of the fact that we're dealing with a presidential election here, and the feelings of Joe Biden are less important than the fate of the country. You're telling me about the feelings of Joe Biden, blah, 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 but Joe Biden is out of the picture. He's out of the picture. What? And then he says, yeah, he sure is. She says, he's out of the picture now, and we lost. And he says, this is what you wrote your book about. I am not bringing this up randomly.
Man.
No, I know, but you just said that to me, right? So I'm just responding to it. He's out of the picture. He stepped down. He's out of the picture, and we lost. The book for me is really about the moment that we're in. When I talk about the broken White House in the subtitle, I'm talking about the Trump White House. The Trump White House. What are the Democratic leadership actually doing to beat back and fight back? I'm not here to answer for the Democrat leadership. You've been answering for the Democratic leadership. You were giving me their answers.
Amazing.
I didn't talk to anyone in Democratic leadership. I was just trying to remember how I and others felt watching Biden in those weeks, that it felt like he was too old to be president for another 4 years and too old to win. And here's the thing. That's your experience. That's the experience you had. End of interview.
Wow. Just a masterpiece.
Yeah. Can I say my favorite part, though?
you.
She
Yeah,
was like,
yes.
you don't understand. We don't support black women enough. And he was like, so you supported Kamala Harris being chosen over Biden? No.
No.
You don't understand my lived experience as a black queer woman, which is why I supported Kamala, who decided that she couldn't put Pete Buttigieg on the ticket because he was gay.
He's gay. That's right.
I mean,
You can't have a
it's
gay.
just wow.
A black and a woman and a gay. It's a no, according to Kamala
10
Harris.
of 10 content. 10 of 10.
Is-
Last question.
You really-
Strudwick the dog? What
my
breed
dog.
is Strudwick? I have a question about this.
He's very difficult. He's an English lab, like with a big block head, and he is such a handful. He's well. Let me put it to you this way: we put his updates in my weekly newsletter that I send out to people on Fridays, and I think only once has Strudwick not been the most clicked on item, and it was the week Trump got shot. Okay, that's how naughty my Strudwick is. But I think he could have understood the interview questions much more easily than Karine Jean-Pierre. I think
I'm gonna be honest, I'm subscribing for Strudwick now. Yeah.
Do it now. Just go to MegynKelly.com and you can click right there. All right. We've barely scratched the surface. We need to be here for another 3 hours. Don't go away. Got to do an ad. Coming right back. The tax extension deadline may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just beginning. If you missed the October 15th deadline or owe back taxes, hear me out. Yes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement, and every day you wait only makes it worse. Here's the harsh reality. The IRS can charge a penalty of 5% per month, up to 25% of your total tax bill just for not filing. That's in addition to what you already owe. That's the bad news. Here's the good news. There is still time for Tax Network USA to help. Self-employed or a business owner, even if your books are a mess, they've got you covered. With tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments, the IRS is applying pressure at many levels, but it's not too late to regain control. Your consultation is 100% free. In one short call, the experts at Tax Network USA can determine how much you can save. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. Let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes the next move. Every October, we honor the strength and resilience of women and families affected by breast cancer. But cancer touches all of us in some way, and more people today are seeking options beyond the standard approach. That's why I want to tell you about what All Family Pharmacy is doing this month. They are helping patients gain access to trusted, affordable medications like ivermectin and mebendazole. These treatments that are sometimes used off-label are currently being researched in Florida for their potential to support cancer treatment and prevention. You want to talk to your doctor about it. For those looking for an alternative or addition to their current care, it's always important to talk to your family doctor, find out what he or she thinks. But All Family Pharmacy will make talking to any doctor very simple for you. They work with like-minded physicians across the country who review every order and provide prescriptions when appropriate. In honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, they are offering 40% off mebendazole until October 31st. That's this Friday. The discount is automatically applied at checkout. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Megyn to learn more and save 40% today. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/Megyn. It's finally here. All right, let's get this party started. Megyn Kelly live on tour across America.
I was like, we have to go. And then after what happened to Charlie, I'm like, we definitely have to go.
The best way to honor Charlie's legacy is to be out here, to be unafraid, to not back down.
Stand firmly. Do not waver on the truth.
Next stop, White Plains, Jacksonville, Miami, and Atlanta. So go get your tickets right now before they sell out. MegynKelly.com. Presented by Y-Refi and SiriusXM. We are back from the first leg of the Megyn Kelly live tour. It was so fun to see all of you. I loved our opening weekend in Texas. Thank you all again so much for coming out. We have put out the first two shows that we taped in Texas so far. The third comes out this Friday. It was with Link Lauren, Mark Halperin, and Glenn Beck. And you're going to laugh. You're going to be interested. You're going to learn new things. I think you're going to enjoy that one very much. It hits Friday. And we have 7 more dates still to go, starting again next week. Spending this weekend with the fam for Halloween, and then we're back out on the road. You can get your tickets right now at MegynKelly.com. Would love to see you guys, and we're having such a great time. Please do it, and please come say hello. And I wanted to tell you, we have a new name joining us at our Atlanta stop on November 8th. MTG. Marjorie Taylor Greene will be there. Really looking forward to that. She was such a pleasant surprise when she came on, I don't know, a month or two ago. She was awesome. Really enjoyed her. Come see MTG and yours truly, along with a cast of stars. Adam Carolla will be there. John Rich will be there performing. And get your tickets right now. Okay? MegynKelly.com. And one more big announcement. Starting today, by popular demand, you can get Megyn Kelly Show merch. Yes, we have merch finally coming to the website. It's on the website right now, so you can check it out. Go to itsnotjustmegankelly.com. That's where you have info on the show. This one's called shopmegankelly.com. And can I tell you, it's taken us forever because I kept rejecting things that were submitted because I didn't think they were high quality enough. You can get T-shirts made quickly, you can get hats made quickly, but I was like, no. I want the products to have the same high quality that the show does. That's what my audience is going to be expecting. And they do. They're beautiful. I have touched the products myself. I have rejected many betas for this Ultimate Collection. And now we have a great selection of T-shirts, some for the guys, some with like a slimmer fit if you want that as a lady or as a man. Who am I to judge? Talking to you, Link. Hats, sweatshirts, mugs, notebooks, whatever. My favorite thing, I actually don't have it here, but there's a coffee mug with the Devil May Care media on it, logo. And I have to tell you, I think it is such a good looking pair. I think you're going to love it. So go check it out and enjoy. By the way, there's also, it's not just at Megyn Kelly Show merch there. You can get MK Media merch. You can get MK True Crime merch. All sorts of fun things depending on what your preference is and what you spend the most time watching. I guess for our YouTube audience, we have a QR code on your screen right now. That's what they're telling me. And so if you scan it, you can shop MegynKelly.com right away. It'll take you right to shop Megyn Kelly. All right, so cannot wait to see what you guys like. If you have any creative ideas that you think we should consider and how you want to look in your Megyn Kelly merch and how you do look, send us pictures, send us suggestions to Megyn, M-E-G-Y-N, at MegynKelly.com. Okay, welcome back, and let's get on with the show. Before we leave Karine Jean-Pierre, I just did want to get this in. She had another negative experience because of Ashbrook's rule about how, now that you're no longer useful to us, we're not interested in protecting you. And she went over to MSNBC where they have hired Elise Jordan, she's got a background in more on the right. It's kind of an interesting hire. And she did ask KJP about how she savaged special counsel Robert Hur, who did the special counsel report on Joe Biden's having classified documents at home. He was the one who said, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, so I can't indict. And, you'd think the Democrats would have taken that as the Christmas gift it was, but no, she savaged him from the White House podium, went after him. And Elise Jordan wanted to know if she had, any thoughts on how wrong that was, given what's happened. Here's how that went, and listen to the whole thing. Stop 20.
You said that his commentary was gratuitous, that it was unacceptable, and it didn't live in reality. Robert Hur was unemployable. Have you apologized to Robert Hur?
I mean, look, what I can say to you is I saw the president every single day.
Have you gone back to someone who you had pretty sharp comments about, and we all saw a different reality in your personal capacity?
What I'm saying is my reality was this. My reality was somebody that I saw every single day who was sharp.
Do you have any regrets at all for anything that you said while you were speaking on behalf of this administration?
I woke up every day.
Here it comes.
Very proud to be the White House press secretary. I woke up every day as a Black woman who is queer, who had no one had ever seen someone like me at that podium standing behind that lectern. It was an honor and a privilege to have that job.
Can you guys tell me as political operatives, isn't there some point at which somebody says to her, stop saying that, stop saying that?
Only if you care about them, and I don't think she's surrounded by people who do.
I think that's fair.
I think if someone cared about her, they would have told her years ago, you're not up for this. Yeah. Why would you put yourself as the spokesperson? You're at the pinnacle of your profession. You're representing the president of the United States. That's the most powerful office you can have on the planet. If someone cared about her, they would have said, you're not built for this.
Isn't that sort of a microcosm of the entire problem with the Biden presidency? Like you look at KJP.
Dude, that's right.
In no normal world would a person like this end up with this book deal and do this media tour and beclown herself. It is a microcosm of the Biden presidency.
Yeah.
And I
in over their heads from the jump.
I think a lot of it is just the wound they have from Obama passing over.
Yes, dude. Dude, you're right.
Biden. And so it created this cloistered environment, this small network of people who profited, of course, we've now learned, to the tune of 8 mil bone. if they somehow got across the finish line. But it created this insular and bunker mentality within Biden world where they didn't have inputs from the rest of the normal world. Yeah. And it led them to do a lot of really foolish things.
Dude, and profoundly unqualified.
Yeah. It was a wound and it was a chip on their shoulder because the entire Biden team is like the Obama 5th and 6th stringers. These were the benchers of the benchers of the benchers. And so when Obama comes out and humiliates Joe right in front of the White House where he says, it's going to be Hillary. It's not going to be this dude. He's a bit old. We all know this. That's where it started. Yeah. Where like the people who were around Biden, all the like super untalented Obama folks were like, okay, we got to get together. And they basically treated that White House as like a get the money and run situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think the underlying motivation for an awful lot of these people was not like, what can we do for this country? What can we do for the people that are voting for us, that are hoping that they can have a better life as a result of our policies? The underlying motivation is this is my one shot. Yeah. I'm never going to get a shot like this because we've had Democratic administrations for 8 long years that looked at me and thought I wouldn't be able to do it.
How do I settle a score?
Yeah, so now I have a jump seat, essentially, on this ride that is Joe Biden, and I'll be damned if I'm going to speak truth about what's going on here because that's my ride.
Mm-hmm. Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm honestly, like, I'm thinking about it because the overemphasis on identity has been going back a long way in the Democratic Party. Yep. What real qualifications did Barack Obama have to get the nomination and ascend to the presidency? What, he'd been a U.S. senator for like 2 years? Yeah. Prior to that, a short stint in Illinois politics.
He gave a good DNC speech.
It was the keynote. It was the keynote of the DNC.
Yeah,
that was it. And Obama was good at oratory. That was the one thing that was real about him. He was good at oratory. He could deliver a speech. Now he's gotten kind of grating. We
and
kind of
drone
know
striking weddings. You can't take that from the man. He has the high score.
Striking.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
And then Michelle Obama, who was like elevated to being like the be all end all. Oh my God, Michelle, like what she says is gospel. Why again? Because she had a short stint as a lawyer at like a fine, but like not that great law firm in Chicago. Like that's it. So now she's like the mother of us all. Now we have to listen to Michelle Obama's every word because
is her podcast still on the air? I think
she's
that got
literally
like
getting
5 listeners. Is she still doing it or is she throwing the towel?
Smug, it's on the air. It gets her clips get less than 2,000 views.
Yeah. You know what I love about doing Megyn's show is like Megyn has the receipts and when she's like, not a great law firm in Chicago.
It's fine. It was fine, but there were better. I'm just going to say. And I worked in Chicago for 5 years as a lawyer. So here's Michelle Obama. This is why she's on my mind. She's now, remember, she just like literally 10 days ago, she was out there complaining about how famous she is, and she's very annoyed at her fame. And she hates going into restaurants, and people are always looking at her. So what do? You start a podcast, a video, a YouTube show, and also debut a new book all about your, quote, look. It's about her look and her amazing fashion sense. God. Yeah, because she hates fame and apparently money, too. And look. Tell me if you...
Bro.
Yeah, it's called Look. With Michelle Obama. By the way, if you take one look at Michelle Obama on her actual podcast, she has the fashion sense of this pen. I mean, honestly, there's nothing there. Whoever dressed her for that cover did a good job. When she was first lady, she had a couple of moments, but she has a terrible sense of fashion when she's in her real. Sorry, it's just true. Most of the time, she looks like she's wearing burlap. So she gets out there. She's promoting her new book, The Look. And see if you can sense something familiar in this promo, SOT 15.
It's The Look, my new book. It is here. I am so excited about this project. I can't wait to share it with you all. This book is about so much more than the beautiful pictures. This book talks about the importance of diversity and inclusion and sharing a space. It's about personhood. It's about how what we wear is an armor that suits us up and gets us ready to face the challenges of the day.
It feels like this is the thing that offends me so much about what we just watched from Michelle Obama, and then also KJP's commentary about how she felt unseen as a black woman. It feels like we're being gaslit.
Yep.
As an elder millennial, I remember a time where Oprah was the most popular woman in all of America.
And Beyonce is like the number one selling.
Yeah, I don't think black women are unseen in America.
Well, we grew up in an era where our heroes were all black men and women. They just were. Right?
Michael Jordan.
I mean, all the athletes, all the singer, all the performer, all the heroes of my growing up were all black. And all of a sudden now we've entered a stage where they have to like code speak about what it is that they are seeking to communicate. And
especially
and
black women. I just don't, you don't hear black men doing this. I mean, maybe there are occasionally, but it's mostly black women who are just dying to hit you with their identity. Like, I got multiple, what do they call it? Intersectional, right? You know, if you can add in the queer for good measure, so much the better. But like obsessing around it. Go ahead, Smug.
I think that actually bothered a lot of black men who did notice that, because you saw in 2024, a lot of them then went and voted for Trump. I think Americans, by and large, are sick of this. And especially when it comes to Michelle Obama, I don't think she gets enough flack for when she had that line. She was like, every day I wake up in a house built by slaves. It's like every day you wake up in the White House.
Yeah, dude.
That's the pinnacle of the planet. Yeah, congratulations. Now you get to have Netflix deals and book deals, and you get to talk about how my book is about space. And it's the look. It's like, how much of this like progressive language is like, those cardboard books for baby, where it's like, baby wakes up. You are in your space. You are a little baby. These like very simple sentences.
Like the way we speak to Karine Jean-Pierre.
Exactly. Seriously. It's like the books are reading to Joe Biden.
So of course she's got to tout the identity. It's just like the through line. All right, I'm going back on the subject of lying liars who lie, mostly Democrats. And that brings me to Zohran Mamdani and the disgusting lie he appears to have told about his aunt. There's so many disgusting things about this clip. That's kind of the least disgusting thing, but it is a lie. Here he is. Also, part of the lie was his fake crying. Where's the tear? Show me the tear. Any man who's actually crying and like choking up, like can't get through the sentence, would have an actual tear, because it would have to be that level for him to actually be choked up and like stopping a speech. There's not a tear. He's actually faking. He's acting, and it's despicable. Here it is, SOT 4.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City.
See, he looks down. Can't see it. Don't look at his eyes.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt.
Oh my God.
Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
She did not feel safe in her hijab. All right.
It's insane. Everybody wearing blue jeans on the subway didn't feel safe after September 11th. There's nothing special about this Ugandan who's running for mayor of New York. He's lying.
Well, also,
wait, first, but there's no aunt. Okay, first of all, there is no aunt.
Yeah.
There's one actual aunt who is dead, and she lives in a totally different country. Then there was a cousin. There was a cousin who I guess now he's saying, he misidentified her as an aunt. And it's unclear whether she ever wore a hijab or rode the subway at all. But isn't the real issue here that if you are going to talk about 9/11, you must start, no matter who you are, but especially if you want to be the mayor of New York, with the nearly 3,000 people, Americans, who were killed by radical Islamic terrorists that day. That's the issue, Zohran, not your fake invented auntie.
That's the thing, is this is like the Norm Macdonald. He had that joke, like, I hope ISIS never blows up a nuclear bomb within the United States. Imagine what would happen to the innocent radical Muslims after. Like, that. This is for someone who's running to be mayor of New York City. And next year is going to be the 25th anniversary of that attack. And all signs point towards it's going to be overseen by Zohran Mamdani, someone who wanted to globalize the Intifada. I think New York is getting what it deserves, because this is what these voters have wanted. They've wanted the city to get worse. They're going to get what they deserve.
Last week showed up with the unindicted co-conspirator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing.
He's not actually an unindicted co-conspirator, but the guy did. But the imam did testify for the blind sheikh at his terrorism trial. Right. The guy who bombed the first World Trade Center. Andy McCarthy was the prosecutor. He wrote an article saying we actually weren't considering him an unindicted co-conspirator, but he was totally supportive of the people who bombed the World Trade Center. And Zohran Mamdani is all arms with him, buddy, arms around each other, laughing just a couple of weeks ago, calling him a pillar of the community.
Another thing. So I saw a statistic where Following the events of September 11th, across the United States and in New York City, they did polling. The approval rating for Muslim Americans has gone up significantly among conservatives, among liberals, across America, and in New York City. And all a result of that is you have these left-wing candidates running on how everyone's mean to Muslims, everyone's mean to Muslims, everyone's mean to Muslims. We welcome these people into our country with the promise that this is the land of opportunity. Join this nation, be a member of this society, and you can succeed. And what is ever since he's come here, what has his stake been? This is a horrible nation and it treats me so badly.
Okay, so this is the most fascinating thing I think about, radical leftism and radical Islam and these democratic socialists in America, is that you have a lot of these people who come to this country and they blame America as being a country that's
oppressive,
broken. Yeah. Right? Settler colonialism. Yeah. Of course, they choose to settle in America.
Right. Yeah, which is weird.
And then in the United States, they want to sit here and tell us how wrong we are and how much we have to change. That is sort of the fascinating inversion of our values as Americans that some of these people do. And I mean, it's Mamdani's dad himself, who is an anti-colonialist professor or whatever, who gets paid lots of money to be a professor in American universities. He's not back in Uganda trying to do anti-colonialism. He's here in the United States trying to change America. Yeah. Think about how whacked that is.
Okay, but here's the New York Post points out there was no wave of anti-Muslim hate crimes following 9/11. Nope. Not in New York or anywhere else. Americans behaved themselves with class and dignity and restraint, even though they'd been brutally attacked by these jihadi terrorists. Okay, like his friend, who like the friends of his favorite imam who tried to bomb the World Trade Center the first time and kill thousands of Americans. This pillar of the community. The Post pointing out that the fake anti, may have had such fears, but only because activist outfits like the Radical Council on the American Islamic Relations, CARE, we all know them, instantly began warning of rising Islamophobia in the wake of the attacks. So maybe she was spun up by a group Zohran Mamdani loves, CARE, but it wasn't by actual New Yorkers who were the victims, you cretin, not perpetrators. If there was any anti-something bias, it was anti-American hatred by Muslims. Zohran, it wasn't Americans hating Muslims, even though they had great cause to following September 11th. And here's just a couple more, okay? And that you mentioned the father. Okay, the father, who's a professor at Columbia, Zohran Mamdani's father, he wrote in his 2004 book, Good Muslim, Bad Muslim, America, the Cold War, and the Roots of Terror, quote, we need to recognize the suicide bomber first and foremost as a category of soldier. Quote, suicide bombing needs to be understood as a feature of modern political violence rather than stigmatized as a mark of barbarism.
My God.
That's the person who raised Zohran Mamdani. This alone is a deal breaker. This man cannot be the mayor of New York City. He cannot be the mayor of New York City. Vote for Cuomo. I'm sorry. I don't like Andrew Cuomo at all. I've said it every time. I can't stand the man. The nursing homes, the sex pest stuff, the arrogance. I don't care. Zohran Mamdani cannot be our next mayor.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem you have is that Mamdani, like Gavin Newsom, is a perfect embodiment of today's Democratic Party, where they have these extreme radical beliefs that are, even in a left-leaning place, probably pretty radically outside the mainstream that would get you elected, but they're shapeshifters. And like that clip that you played of Mamdani doing the fake tear thing, I mean, you put him on a red carpet and give him an Oscar for something like that. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. The woman that he's talking about doesn't exist in real life, and he's moved to tears over it.
That's the thing, is none of it exists. This bigotry, this America's a racist, horrific nation, none of that exists. No. Everything that the left is pushing is an entire lie. But I'm going to disagree with you completely and take the opposite side. Don't support Cuomo. Go for Sliwa. Sure, he's going to lose and Mamdani's going to win, but New York's going to get what they want. They're going to get what they deserve.
I hear you, but
if they get out of control, President Trump can send in the feds. New York has to get a lot worse. The people there have to suffer. They deserve it.
Muslims taking over New York City.
But that's what they want. That's what all the liberal voters, the Upper West Side, is going to line up around the block to vote for Zohran Mamdani.
Well, and they
deserve it.
And I would just say, this guy who testified, this imam who testified at the Blind Sheikh's trial, I would remind everyone, especially like the younger listeners of this, that when Ramzi Youssef was put in shackles and he was in a helicopter after he was arrested, he was over the World Trade Center. And what he said was, if I had more explosives, we would have taken down those buildings. And to think now, all of these years later, that we're going to elect somebody who is a compatriot to these people is such a disgusting thing in New York. I don't think Islamophobia, as it's hurled at us, is really
not
even
a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's not real.
Islamophobia is a made-up term meant to silence critics of Islam. Critics of Islam are onto something. Islam is incompatible with Western values.
Yes.
Period.
And that's what I'm going to say again and again. New York's getting what it deserves. Those people are going to vote for things to get so bad. They voted for de Blasio again. They had the chance to correct that. And I don't believe it's the job of conservatives or Republicans to save those people from themselves. To be like, well, I guess we got to side with Cuomo. Nope. We've tried so many times in New York. I ran so many elections there. If the people want to suffer, you have to let them suffer. It's not like there's going to be a point where they realize, wow, things have gotten bad after Zohran. I guess we got to vote for Republicans. They will never, ever. The left has never once course corrected and been like, you know what? It was a mistake doing gender surgery on kids. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when we see that right in front of our eyes, they still will not retreat. They never go back.
I hear you.
This is what they deserve.
New York City is the gem of the United States. It's by far the greatest city in the world. It just is. It's one thing to lose Dearborn, Michigan. It's one thing to lose Minneapolis. I'm not happy about those either. But it's quite another to lose New York City to radical Islam. We cannot let it happen. I mean, I'm there all the time. I'm in the city. My kids are in the city. My family's in the city. I've grown up as a New Yorker. 50 of my years were spent in the state of New York and 17 of them in Manhattan. This cannot fucking happen. This guy can't win. It's one thing to go socialist. I was with you on that. But the more I have seen how radical Zohran Mamdani is on the Muslim thing, the more we cannot have it. This guy genuinely scares me. He has to be stopped. And that is why I uttered the words last week and just again now that I never, ever would think I would or utter, which is I would vote for Cuomo if I were still in the city, and I hope people vote for Cuomo. I'd like Sliwa. I like Sliwa. He can't win. He's had a shot. He's down now, according to the latest poll, under 10%. And Cuomo actually has had a surge since Eric Adams bailed out. They're within 10 points of each other with Sliwa in. There's a chance he could stop him. And he has to be stopped politically at the ballot box.
Megyn, can I ask you one question, though? And this is the thing that frustrates me about the state of this race. Is like, why wasn't there some patriot, some independent businessman who stepped up and said, I want to do something about this? And nobody did. And that's what's so disheartening is like, what, our choice is the guy who put grandmas into facilities that got them killed during COVID, or Sliwa. And it's just very depressing to me that nobody had the courage to step up and see this for what it was.
That age of New York is gone. We remember how tremendous the Bloomberg years were. The city was safe. The trains ran on time. And then what did they do? They're like, this guy, he did stop and frisk. He's a Nazi.
Yeah.
And now they got de Blasio. And now look at where they are. They get what they deserve. It had its chance. They saw responsible leadership and they said no. They turned on it. This is a radicalized left-wing party. They are going to get what they deserve, and they will never learn from their mistakes.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I still, I'm holding out hope. Those are the things I'm going to be telling myself the day after the election, Smug, if Mamdani wins. But before he's actually done it, I'm on a different page. I do want to say this, okay? I'm so angry about the Mamdani attempt to make 9/11
because it's the best city on the planet. It's incredible.
But the nerve of him trying to take 9/11 and make it about Islamophobia is
it's
so
incredible.
galling. Okay, my team put this together because, I was at Fox News. I started at Fox News. I started in news in 2003 in Washington, D.C., which was also hit on 9/11. And I started at Fox in 2004, so 3 years after 9/11. And a lot of my colleagues, like Greg Kelly, were over there on tanks reporting as we were, invading, and covered so many deaths of American service personnel who went over there and sacrificed everything in these wars That's what 9/11 is about. What happened that day with the 2,977 people killed, and the firefighters and the cops especially, but everyone, and then all of the U.S. service personnel who were killed, thousands of them in the years thereafter. He gets up there and wants to make about Islamophobia for a fake aunt. So we pulled this because every year we cover 9/11 and we give it its due because it's personal for a lot of us.
Yep.
And here's just a couple, okay? What you didn't hear from Zohran Mamdani was anything about Kevin Cosgrove. I'm going to play you a soundbite from Kevin Cosgrove. He was 46 years old. He was from Long Island, West Islip. He was a husband. He was a father of 3. His oldest son was 12, and he had 2 others as well. He was a vice president at Aon Corporation. He was on the 105th floor of the South Tower. He called 911 to try to get help for himself and his trapped colleagues. And we've got the soundbite. Let's take a listen to it.
Lady, there's 3 of us in this office. We're not ready to die, but it's getting bad. Hey, what are you guys up to? We're getting there. Doesn't feel like it, man. I got young kids. I understand that, sir. We're on the way. You have everything, sir. I know you do, but it doesn't seem like it. You got lots of people up here. I understand. I know you got a lot in the building, but we're up on the top. Smoke rises.
We're on the top.
We're on the floor.
Smoke rises, too. We're on the floor. We're in the window.
I can barely breathe now.
I can barely breathe now.
We're not ready to die. We're looking to
We're not ready to die.
2, 3 of us, 2 broken windows. Oh, God!
Yep.
That is what happened when Kevin Cosgrove was killed on 9/11/2001. That day is about him. It's about the others who perished in the most unimaginable, painful, horrific way possible due to radical jihadis, radical Islam. It is not about some fake invented aunt. It is not about Islamophobia. And no one can be mayor of New York City who doesn't understand that and prioritize that narrative and those victims, guys.
It's 100%. I mean, look, it's a deeply, for those of us who lived through it. I mean, I was an intern in Washington, D.C., and my brother's subway stop was World Trade Center. And, you know, for those of you who lived through it, you had no cell service. And so our parents knew our 2 locations and didn't know what the situation was because they couldn't call us and talk to us. But I remember the profound sense of gratitude for the country within hours, where I went down to the mall and down by the Capitol, and there were Republicans and Democrats alike that held a vigil where they were singing. And the sense of American solidarity was so real in that we're all in this together and we're going to confront whatever this is, and we didn't know at the time, together as a nation. And we had that opportunity to do it as a fundamental. And I just, it's hard for me having that memory be it's basically the reason I got into politics in the first place. But it's hard for me to fast forward 25 years and see somebody like Zohran Mamdani, who's hanging out with people and promoting people who wanted and wished that day upon America. And then to see Americans actually go down that path. You know, it was a little concerning to hear about the Michigan problem that Democrats talked about when which was the reason why Kamala Harris couldn't define October 7 as a terrorist attack against the state of Israel, because they had this huge constituency. It's quite another when the largest city in America, and like you said, the crown jewel, could forget that day.
He was 10 on 9/11. And I guess he's decided he has no obligation to actually study up on what that day was actually like. He talks about, in a campaign speech he offered back in 2020, what it was like for him as a young boy. And even then, in this speech in 2020, he was the victim. Listen to this, Sod 8.
On 9/11, when my teacher pulled me out of class, a classmate of mine and myself, and told us that we may get bullied because of what had just happened. We didn't understand what had happened. And in fact, we were very lucky to have a teacher as kind and caring as that, because most Muslim students did not have that.
Yes, it's about the possible but never actual bullying of Zohran Mamdani and other Muslim children. That didn't happen. We were worried about our loved ones. We were licking our wounds. We were looking for people for months on end. Our firefighters were digging us out in the midst of toxic dust that has killed far more firefighters post 9/11 than were killed on 9/11 because they've died of cancers and other horrible illnesses, many of whom are still struggling. Zohran, it's not about you and your fucking imaginary bullying. I have one more I've got to do with you guys, or just two more. Melissa Doy, 32 years old from the Bronx. She was an only child. She lived with her mom. She loved dancing. She was in the South Tower of the World Trade Center. The right wing of the aircraft had ripped through the 83rd floor where her office was located. She worked for a financial systems group. She called 911, and here is part of that exchange.
Are they going to be able to get somebody up here? Well, of course, man. We're coming up to you. Well, there's no one here yet, and the floor is completely engulfed. We're on the floor, and we can't breathe. Okay. And it's very, very, very hot. Are the lights still on? The lights are on, but it's very hot. Ma'am. Very hot. We're all the way on the other side of Liberty, and it's very, very hot. There is smoke. I can't breathe. Okay, you stay calm with me, okay? I understand. I think there is fire because it's very hot. Okay. It's very hot everywhere on the floor. I'm going to die, aren't I? No. I'm going to die. Ma'am, say your prayers. And we're going to think positive because you got to help each other get off the floor. I'm going to die. Stay calm. You're doing a good job, ma'am. You're doing a good job. It's so hot. I'm burning up.
She spelled out the last name of her mother. She asked the dispatcher to set up a three-way call. That wasn't possible, but the dispatcher did tell her to say whatever she wanted to say. And Melissa said, tell my mom she was the best mother a person could have, that I love her with all my heart and soul, that I will see her in the next world. Her remains were found 3 years later. And then there's this woman, Marcy Borders, known as the woman covered in dust. Everyone has seen this photo. She was only 28 on 9/11. You can't tell how old she is because she's literally covered in World Trade Center toxic dust from head to toe. She was from Bayonne, New Jersey. She worked for Bank of America in the North Tower. After the plane hit, she evacuated. She got out. It took her an hour to get down the steps. She got out of the tower just as the South Tower fell. A man pulled her out of the dust cloud, dragged her into the lobby of a nearby building, and that's where Stan Honda, a photographer, captured an image of her completely covered in dust from the building collapse. The image became so well known and so widely distributed that Borders became known as, quote, the Dust Lady. She said she never recovered from the trauma of the attack. She was frightened of tall buildings and planes. In April 2011, she checked herself into rehab. A week later, the news broke about the death of Osama bin Laden. She said that event helped her in returning to sobriety, and she felt able to move on from the events of 9/11. Again, that was in 2011, 10 years later. In 2014, so 3 years after she got sober, she was diagnosed with stomach cancer. She believed it was triggered by the toxic dust. She died from cancer on August 24th, 2015. She was 48 years old. 8 children died on 9/11, all aboard the planes. The youngest victim was 2.5 years old on Flight 175. Her name was Christine Lee Hansen. She was on her way to Disneyland. 10 pregnant women died that day. Their names are etched into the 9/11 memorial along with the phrase, and her unborn child. That's who 9/11 is about. It's not about Zohran Mamdani. It's not about his fake aunt, and it's certainly not about Islamophobia. And this man who doesn't understand that, who hangs out with imams and calls them pillars of the community, who supported the man who tried to bring down the towers the first time, cannot be the mayor of New York City. He cannot be the mayor of New York City. And I'm sorry, but that is why we have to vote Andrew Cuomo. Due respect to Curtis Lewa, he's run a good race, but he didn't get us there in the end. There is no choice but to vote for Andrew Cuomo. Words I never thought I'd utter, but we must. He has to be stopped.
Well, I think it's important in this moment to think about that when you think about 9/11 and you think about like our firefighters, and the thing that always sticks with me, and the Cosgrove thing you played, Megyn, you know, I've listened to that audio numerous times. The thing that always sticks with me is the chirping.
Yeah.
And everybody here knows what I'm talking about. And that is when those buildings fell, the chirping of all of those people, those firefighters who, instead of running away, ran in and died because they were trying to save other people's lives.
Yeah.
And that in that rubble, you know, as they're trying to dig people out, you heard the chirping of dozens of these dead firefighters. And to think of all of the police officers who saw that first plane crash into the World Trade Center and ran down to the financial district to figure out how they could help. And to think that Mamdani wants to defund the police in New York.
Yeah.
It's such a disgusting thing, you know.
Well, the fact that there's any constituency for it all is crazy. But it's not just a New York story. I mean, this is why I'm unconflicted about Hamas or Hezbollah or what's been going on in the Middle East. I understand that a lot of people have a lot of different concerns. People feel different ways about Israel. People feel different ways about Netanyahu and the war that has ensued that thankfully President Trump has had a leadership position in, and we'll see how that all pans out. But this is the fundamental question, is not a domestic political discussion about whether Dearborn, Michigan can hold a Death to America rally of tens of thousands of people within our borders, and you consider it a political constituency that you have to placate rather than a cancer that you must remove. That is the lesson of 9/11. 9/11 wasn't an individual event. There were 11 long years that led up to that moment. They had declared war on America for over a decade before they ever had 9/11.
Yeah.
9/11 was just the moment that America declared war back. Now, you can make all your arguments about the war on terror and how that was prosecuted and whether or not we got as a country what we were looking for in terms of the retribution and the justice for the people who were killed. But make no mistake, these people want the death to Western civilization, Hamas, Hezbollah, radical Islam. Call it out for what it is. And it shocks me to my core that we are having a very real discussion in today's day and age, just 25 years removed, where we're in a situation where we've got a guy who's on the terror side, on the terror side of the equation.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's
get
not just,
the hell out.
It's not just, people say, oh, it's just that he's Muslim. That's not it, actually.
That's not it. It's not it at all.
But Islam is not consistent with Western values. So, I mean, there is something to look into there, just that alone. I'm not going to lie. That is potentially problematic. Like, what kind of Muslim? Are we going to be doing 5 times a day prayer, and he's going to bring the tenets of Islam into office, which does not believe in free speech, which does not believe in women's rights, which does not believe in the separation of church and state? Yeah, we actually might have a problem based on that alone. I need to know more. But certainly this guy's embrace of radicalism, that's a total deal breaker.
But Megyn, we're not even a month removed from a huge, like tens of thousands of people marching in New York City celebrating October 7th. That's the constituency that he's trying to get out and vote for him to become mayor of America's largest city by showing up with people like the imam we just spoke to.
Yeah.
This is a disgusting mess. And
the dad, his own father, who doesn't think that suicide bombers should be stigmatized. That's who he was raised by.
Well, and that's the thing, is they might dress it up as the banner of resistance, this vague term of resistance. But what it really is, and Megyn, back to your whole point, political Islam is the problem. It is Western values and political Islam cannot coexist. They just simply cannot, right? No. And they call it resistance, but the reality is it's from the river to the sea, right? It's globalized the Intifada. It is a philosophy of violence, and violence in political Islam is their whole thing. Martyrdom. It is what it is.
Yeah, you can pretend like it's not it.
It's they say it's Islamophobia. I don't think it's Islamophobia. It's literally just reading what you say and what you believe in.
But it's also like, if you're asking me whether I want Islam taking over American cities and our positions of power, the answer is no. If that makes me phobic of Islam, I don't give a shit. Fine. Call me whatever you want. I'm unmovable on this. I don't care. And everyone needs to get this spine. Do not let them shame you out of criticizing the takeover of Islam in American cities by calling you Islamophobic. You have a reason to be. And by the way, it's not fear. It's reasoned rejection of those principles as totally inconsistent with the foundational ideals of the United States of America. Go to Saudi. Go back to Uganda. Go someplace where that is the majority. That's fine by me. I don't care. Do your thing. I don't want to convert those societies into American ideals either. They can do their thing. It's working for them. I get it. That was George W. Bush who was trying to change values in the Middle East. Most of us today have no desire to do that. We don't want our country changed to look like the Middle East either, at all.
No question. No question. It's just like, again, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it, Megyn. It's just like having lived through all of that. And I understand there's a lot of water under the bridge in the 25 years about America's place in the world. And you mentioned, missions that have definitely gone awry from an American interest standpoint. But the fundamental principle remains.
But this is why this conversation is so important, dude, is like you said, Megyn, Mamdani was 10 on 9/11?
Yeah.
Right? And so the history of all of this matters, right? You got the 1993 World Trade Center attack. You got Khobar Towers. You got the Tanzania and the Kenya
USS Cole
embassies. You got the USS Cole.
Marine barracks
in Beirut. Like, it's not, there is a track record of this with Islamic radical extremism that there are so many people in our country who do not understand. They think they woke up yesterday and suddenly everyone's Islamophobic.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we just looked at the record as it exists. And we're making a determination that this is not compatible with Western values.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're totally entitled to that opinion, and it needs to be expressed with a pencil in the voting booth next week. It's right around the corner. Or we got to end it on a lighter note because this is a fun one. It's still political, and it's still about lying liars who lie over on Team Blue. And that brings me to Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, this is such a fun story. So Gavin Newsom goes on this podcast of two, I think they're former NBA stars, both of whom had rough upbringings, really did have some tough things happen to them. And Gavin Newsom, who is the son of a very well-heeled lawyer who worked for the Gettys, one of the richest families in American history. They're like the Rockefellers, the Astors, but directly for the Gettys, and was very well taken care of, ultimately, both of them were, Gavin and his dad, by the Gettys. It's like trying to relate to them, trying to act like he had the same upbringing as these guys did. Here's the soundbite, SOT 17.
My mom was 19, pregnant, and divorced a few years later with 2 kids, came from no money, and just hustled, worked hard, grinding every single day, 2.5 jobs, no bullshit. Part-time bookkeeper, she did restaurant. That's how I got in the restaurant business. And it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
it's like the White Stack Five story.
Come on. Macaroni and cheese. That's how I grew up, bro.
Oh my God.
That's how I grew up, bro.
That's how I grew up, bro. Yeah,
OMG.
Gavin Newsom's like, that's how I grew up, bro. I had a stack of Wonder Bread and some macaroni and cheese. I was out on the corner. It was just me and the Gettys. You know how it is, just like a normal kid having to hustle.
Look at this
That's
picture.
the most pathetic thing.
This picture it's of him with the Gettys. It's a 1991 photo of Newsom with the Getty children. It was about his first business venture called Plump Jack, a winery. That's Newsom's second from the left. Look at this.
He's just hustling, starting a winery with the Gettys. He's on the streets.
Look at the Getty guy on the right. With the greased back long hair and the leather jacket and like the villainous facial expression. The article title was "A New Generation Makes Its Mark. Society kids take up endeavors outside the expected realm. The sons of Gordon Getty and Justice Bill Newsom," that's his dad, "are opening up a wine shop." And then they go on talking about the subtitle of the picture was "Children of the Rich." Children of the rich. Now he's with these 2 guys who had legitimate difficulties growing up, like, me too, Wonder Bread.
he had to raise himself. You know, when you got just you and the Gettys opening a wine shop out on those mean streets of San Francisco.
He's just
tough life.
He's just grinding on these grapes, bro.
That's it.
That's it, pal.
That's the most pathetic thing ever.
We were talking about this a lot on the Ruthless Variety program today. We had that picture up, and it was like he's talking to a bunch of former NBA guys, is my understanding. And like the observation is that this guy would lead them to believe that he's crossing over Stephon Marbury at the Rucker Park, when in actuality he's hanging out with the Gettys stomping from wine grapes, right? Or actually asking someone else to stomp on the wine grapes.
Look at this one. This one was from I think his high school years, where he's got
Scarf?
like the Burberry scarf on. I'm sure this is how all of you looked in high school too, with your jackets and your white shirt and the perfect
Smug
hair.
may have, actually.
I'm betting we're going to see that photo again when he runs for president. It's going to be run by Zohran Mamdani on his way to getting the nomination for president from the Democrats.
AOC.
That's depressing.
Thank God Zohran Mamdani's too young. He's too young. I think he's only 33 years old. He can't do it yet.
He'll have
But
a birth
AOC,
certificate from Uganda that says he's old enough.
I'm sure he'll rankle that up, and Trump will be the first to call him out for it being fake. In any event, it's another faker, another lying liar who lies, unlike the Ruthless Variety program, which only gives you the truth. It's great to see you guys. You can do it all. That's
so
what I love
good
about
to see you.
Thank you so much.
Listen, good luck with your tour. You're doing great work out there, Megyn. We wish we could join you because we've been watching intently and all you're up to. It looks like everybody's having a blast.
Yeah, I saw all the
thank
Instagram
you.
posts out of Texas with Jesse Kelly and everything. God bless you for doing it, especially in this moment right now. Thank you so much for doing your
Thanks,
tour.
guys. You know, you're my brothers in podcasting, and I'm always rooting for you. Till the next time.
See you.
Thank you.
What a great group. What a great group of guys. Medicare's annual enrollment period is here, and let's be honest, it's more confusing than ever. Out-of-pocket costs are going up for a lot of seniors, and over 1 million people are on plans that are simply going to go away in January. It might be tempting to ignore the flood of Medicare ads and mailers, but doing nothing could mean that come next year, the doctors you trust and the prescriptions you count on are no longer covered. That's why I want to tell you about Chapter. They're the only Medicare advisors who search every single plan nationwide, and they will recommend what's truly best for you. In fact, they have saved people an average of $1,100 a year. They're fast, and their help is completely free. In under 20 minutes, they will tell you if you are already in the right plan for you or help you find one that actually works for your needs. So don't wait. Call Chapter now at 27 Medicare. That's 27 Medicare, and get the peace of mind you deserve.